the fear about having something else do the writing is thinking. Mm-hmm. But now what I'm seeing is your writing is thinking, but now it's sort of at a meta level. It's the next level up of the thinking. And I'm still seeing them have to organize their thoughts and put it into writing. But it's now at a different level, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Today is Friday, September 6th. We're trying to get back onto our schedule of Fridays. Hey, Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing well. We might have to run if the food arrives, but otherwise we're good to go. I've just been through my first couple weeks of the 2024 fall semester, and I wanted to give an update on the AI use in the classroom and how that is doing. I had started out reading about AI, online of course, and really enthusiastic about how this was going to work, but also a little scared that it was going to end any kind of homework assignment that involved writing. And it seems like that actually could be somewhat happening. So I came up with lots and lots of rules and said, if you want to use AI, you can just give us the prompts, and if you show the prompts, then I'll know what to do.
This is what you said.
I said that before. I said they could do it, and their first response was just never using AI.
Right.
And everything was great, except a couple of them had some strange language, and I ran it through the AI detector. Now, AI detectors are problematic.
Why?
They are problematic for a couple of reasons. They work great for me. Like, if they can tell the difference between my text, and if I take that text and run it through AI, it'll show it every time. But AI looks for... So AI detectors look for patterns of various kinds. One is just forensics. If you've got a lot of cut and pastes, they can notice that and see that you've cut and pasted from more than one source. And so they suspect you if they see a lot of that. Another one is, it's called bursting, or it's measuring the entropy, but the amount of strange language you use. Humans never stay on a single path, whereas AI tends to always use the same format in its language. And so AI has a much...
because that's the higher statistical probability of the way language would be used,
right,
in its opinion.
So they have a very low entropy. They have a lot less randomness with what's called bursting.
Interesting.
And then there's another one where it just looks for particular words. So if you want to do an analysis of papers that have been using AI, you look for words that AI really likes, like meticulous. If a study has been meticulous, there's a really good chance that they used AI to write that.
Okay.
And there's a lot of keywords like that just suddenly have gone up hugely in all scientific papers, everything from students, everything.
Oh, okay.
And so even if you're not finding it, you're finding these words that AI is providing.
That word. I have to stop using that word now.
No, you don't have to stop using it. It's just an example. There's a whole bunch of them that are like that are just sort of a little extra flowery and not the sort of thing of, I would carefully measure. No, I would meticulously measure.
Right.
It's just, why go there?
Yeah.
So that's one of the ways. And so what happens is that students start using Grammarly or one of the other programs that uses AI to fix phrases.
Right.
And make them more grammatically correct.
Well, I also think you've mentioned that you have a high number of, or a high percentage of ESL students.
Well, so if English as a second language is a problem for a graduate writing class, they're very likely to be using Grammarly to fix things.
Right.
Because, there's subject-verb agreement, just little problems that are very common.
Right.
Because, English is hard, and...
I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong. I'm saying this is where you would go. It's because...
Yeah. And so I was starting to see that the AI detectors were coming up with people being 60% human. And I'm like, 60% human? Most humans come out as 100% human. Mm-hmm. What is this 60% human? Mm-hmm. And so I contacted them to see if they were cutting and pasting something from an AI into their work, or they were rephrasing AI. And finally, I got someone to confess, basically, that they were using Grammarly. And I realized that Grammarly was itself AI. And so this is also particularly true with the ESL students because they're less likely to be straying outside of a standard English.
But Grammarly
already
itself existed before this AI
yes,
craze.
and then Grammarly became AI supported, and it actually changed the way Grammarly worked.
Not? Right.
Yeah. And so Grammarly now works much, much better, but it now rewrites your paper as AI. And so
so they don't need to go to Grammarly and then go to AI to clean up the phraseology.
To clean up the phraseology, exactly.
It just does the whole thing for you.
Yeah, exactly. So I've now said, if you're using Grammarly, just tell me. Then I'll know what I'm seeing. If you're using ChatGPT, give me all the prompts. And I'm seeing actually really creative use of this. And students who I don't think could do necessarily a graduate level writing class in biology are now able to do it and do it well. And they're using AI as a tool, and they're showing me exactly the prompts that they're using. And I am very hopeful about this.
So this is actually working, because before you said this. So the difference here from the last time we talked about this is you said specifically when you said, show me the prompts, they were like, that's too much work.
That's too much work. Well, so the first...
But now it's not.
Yeah, well, the first batch said that's too much work and didn't use AI.
Right.
Then they started to use AI but not tell me and tried to hide it from me.
Right.
At which point I really kind of feel that's approaching cheating,
right,
and they're trying to fool me, and I don't like that.
Right.
And so that makes me upset.
So what changed it on their side that they're now giving you the prompts?
They understand how to use it better. So they've been introduced to it already. They've known about it for a year or two.
Okay.
I made the threats really clear in bold and underlined, is if you don't tell me, that is cheating.
If you don't tell me and then I figure it out, which I will.
Which I will. I run these things through checkers. And I do find these things. And I wrote a letter to them all saying, I had a problem with this last semester. There were people who were using this, and I had to give them zeros on their paper. And they're all like, "Ooh, we don't want that to happen." You
addressed this head on at the beginning of the semester.
Absolutely, so that they would know what the downside was. And then I said, if you use it, just tell me what you did.
Using it is not bad. Not telling me is bad.
Exactly. And so now people are able to write who I don't think would have been able to write before. And I could not have gotten a PhD without spell check on my computer.
Yeah, you've said this. This is so we're coming like full circle.
We're coming full circle. And the teachers were worried that none of us would learn how to spell if we had spell check. And that's somewhat true. But to a certain extent, the people who were going to learn how to spell, they learned how to spell anyway. And people like me who are never going to learn, we can survive. Mm-hmm. And I think it's somewhat true when you're getting through graduate school and English is not your first language, and you're working at how do I get my ideas across, having AI seems like a very useful tool.
I completely agree, but a student needs to be introduced to it and coached through it and needs to be taught how to use it.
That's why I was very, very clear on what I wanted. Just give me the prompts, and I can see what you asked for, and I can see how it was. If you just tell me what you did, we're good.
So what?
And they can cut and paste it. They don't have to write anything more. And so I see students who hand in a 2-page paper, and they have a 1-page prompt for it that they hand wrote, or not hand wrote, but they wrote themselves, instructing the AI what to do with the paper they'd already written. So they wrote a paper. And then they gave me the prompt for what they wanted the AI to do to the paper. And I'm seeing really intelligent work. And I'm reading their prompt, and I see that their English is not great, but they are fantastic.
So I'm sorry. So they've written a paper in their however fractured English.
Right.
And then they go ahead and they write a significant prompt.
Significantly long, because it has to be detailed, telling the AI exactly, I want you to condense this, so I already reading that, I know that their original paper was longer than what they turned in.
What other things are you finding in their prompts? I'm fascinated.
They say, please read this for grammar and phrasing. Please make it more succinct and make it read like a professional scientific paper.
I mean, I know
And it
that,
works.
I know that this is what it does, but I'm blown away that you can write a paragraph worth of instructions to the AI for what it needs to do with the other 5 paragraphs to 10 paragraphs you've written, and it
Yeah.
can take all of that into account.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
of course.
Well, we also have to be really, really careful. The dean doesn't even want us using AI detectors because of their fallibility. And I think mostly it's the problem with a racism accusation. Because people who are not native speakers of English are more likely to show up as being AI supported.
Well, because they are.
Often they are,
And
but
what
even
you're
if they're
saying
not,
is-
their
what you-
English is more standardized. And so even
Right.
if they're fully rewriting
Right.
something, so they
Right.
got
because
an AI.
Because by definition, they do not have idiomatic English. Right.
Exactly. So if they
Right.
start with an AI and then they rewrite it, they don't get far enough away from the AI
Yeah.
and they're rewriting. And so no one wants this to go to any kind of grade appeal.
But the whole point of this is that there always has to be the human input, not just human input, but the human direction of what the output is going to be. Even on the teacher's side, even
Yeah.
on the professor's side, if you have to use the AI detector because they're going to use the AI, but that doesn't mean that you just let the AI make the final determination
No, I would
of
actually,
what's happening.
No, I would actually like it if it were always on, just like Safe Assign is always on. You know, if one of my students comes back with a Safe Assign that is 40% copied, that's actually fine because they're using an original paper and then writing a review of that paper. It's going to sound very similar. If I see it's 80% copied, then I'm going to look into it and try and figure out
But that's
what they were doing.
But that's what I'm saying is that you're not going to be like, that's it, 80%. That's the threshold
No.
for me. What you said.
Then I
was,
asked them to come in.
You're going to look into it.
That's exactly what. So the threshold for AI for me is around 70% non-human. If you're only 30% human, you didn't rewrite much, and I need to talk to you
right,
about
and you
this.
need to talk to the person about
Yeah.
it. You're not going to come in saying you have been determined to have not written this paper.
Yeah.
We need to talk. Is
But
what's
I
going to
also get
happen.
100% AI,
Well,
and you know.
I don't have any. I don't know what to say about that.
And so, and in that case, I say you have a 0. Now I have been letting students rewrite, and I think I shouldn't, and I need to chop off a few heads, but I think saying that I would so far seems to be doing the job, because I make it easy in one direction and dangerous in the other.
Well, it's interesting because I have
The other option is they can just write, and that's good for them too.
I have other professor friends who are at other universities and struggling now with not in the sciences but in the humanities, struggling with how do we let them use it at all? Because it's one thing if you've got ESL students and you're dealing with sciences, but if you've got native speakers or even people who are studying other languages, that's what they're doing. They're studying other languages and then they're supposed to write something and then they use the AI. At what point now? It's interesting because it's a little bit easier where you are. It gets a lot murkier as you leave.
Oh, there's murk in every direction. I know engineering students who graduated with an engineering degree because they got a AI to write their thesis.
Okay, that's just
engineers,
frightening.
People who build bridges and things like that.
No, I don't
So-
want to hear that.
This is happening. The students who fool me and get through and are good at this, could well become doctors. This is one of the fears. We do have a fear in
Yeah.
general of the loss of knowledge caused by AI as AI starts copying itself. I now have a student for the first time whose job it is to actually look for AI's hallucinations. And I need to talk to her some more about details, but it's wonderful.
You do, but the loss of jobs to AI. I mean, the loss of knowledge to AI. What about the loss of this is what Jed is talking about. What about the loss of desire for knowledge? The loss of desire to work for knowledge. The loss of any hope of remuneration for your work for knowledge.
I don't think that's an AI thing. No,
of course
what
it
I'm
is.
particularly worried about with AI.
Copyright is completely up in the air. Why would anyone the incentive to create original work is diminishing and diminishing. You're only going to be able to do it for your own self your personal satisfaction,
That's
because
not at all what I'm seeing. I'm
well,
seeing students doing really good work using the AI.
yes,
specifically
in the sciences.
And I think this is happening in many, many fields. What I'm worried about is that when you use AI instead of the knowledge you actually need, that you start using the AI's knowledge, which isn't knowledge, it's pseudo-knowledge. And I'm really worried about pseudo-knowledge copying pseudo-knowledge until there's no knowledge at all.
Well, you have mentioned that AI is reviewing the papers that are submitted to journals, and that if AI is writing the papers that are submitted to journals,
I had my students make timelines of when different species had evolved. Oh, I guess that's the food.
And the food has arrived, and we're going to get back to it.
Yeah, so they're making these timelines of when did Neanderthal evolve, when did Homo erectus evolve, when did Homo sapien evolve, and I said to them that in the past there would be several different dates that you would be given for these things, but that now basically it was all AI reading Wikipedia, and so whatever Wikipedia wrote was going to be the official date across the internet.
Oh.
And so I said, I suggest you go into some of the not original papers, but other places where knowledge is collated, like the Smithsonian or National Geographic, or popular organizations that will have something that's not Wikipedia. And we found there were 100,000-year differences in many of them, or something like 10% of the entire lifespan was variable. And really not a lot of knowledge. But one of my students pointed out that the AI summary said that Homo erectus had lived until 40,000 years ago. And there is no way. Homo erectus died out more like 400,000 years ago. So the AI had dropped to zero. And I said, oh, that's a hallucination. She said, yeah, that's my job. And so she had spotted this right away. And it was really interesting to think of that as there are now people who are kind of on it. They are looking for these kinds of things, and they're pretty good at it.
But there's too much knowledge out there.
No, you can't just verify everything all the time.
It can't be done. And that kind of a difference, that'll get baked in a minute.
In a minute, yeah.
That is utterly petrifying.
Then someone edits Wikipedia because the AI said it was to 40,000 years.
And then it's done.
And then it's done.
Absolutely done forever. This is crazy. This is why the most important thing now is, and how do you do this, because this thing is still evolving, but you can't just incorporate it into how they use it in the classes, how the students use it in their classes, but you have to incorporate teaching them how to use it intelligently in every situation.
But I think there's also these really somewhat insidious aspects to it where they're trying to create clickbait. And so sometimes the AI goes for something that might be true, but is more likely to get you to respond to it.
Of course.
So I just Googled my own name recently because at the pharmacy I discovered there was someone with my name and my birthday in Colorado, and I wanted to look into this. And I immediately got sex offenders. And I'm like, what? What's going on? And I looked in, they did not share my name. Or my birthday, but that's what had popped up as the first thing. It was someone with the same last name. And because there was enough similarity, the clickbait was going to work. And so I think they're now guiding us to the most extreme versions of the searches that we could look for because they know we'll be interested.
I have no reason to dispute that. I mean,
it's a strange thing I just noticed.
We have no idea what else they're putting into these algorithms and with what they can already do to us. It's
No, I'm seeing this a lot, often with scientific things, where the AI summary is a little bit wrong, and you say, that's wrong, and you click on something to verify it. And I'm like, oh, I just did what it wanted me to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine, because you end up doing the actual research, but it's a little disturbing that they're first putting out something a little bit wrong, and in some cases, a lot of it wrong. Is not a sex offender.
Is that part of the algorithm? Is that a purposeful choice? I mean, we may never know.
It said something Colorado sex offender registry Joseph Stout. I would click on that, and it's Aaron Stout, and I'm like, wait, you just put that there.
That's right, and we have to assume that it was purposefully done. We have to,
or at least not purposeful by a human, but that the algorithm knew that you would get more
No,
responses
but
if it did stuff like
But
this.
the human put that into the algorithm to get more responses.
No, they make their own algorithms now.
No, please no.
They know what they want. They don't get told these things. No one in their right mind would tell you that when you Google your name, you should show up in police registries.
That's not true. That's not true. Not if the point is to get clicks. Not if the clicks turn into money.
This didn't used to happen. This is a brand new thing that I've been noticing.
But an AI summary at the top of every search didn't used to happen.
Didn't used to happen, exactly. And so
whether
what I'm saying
you
is,
asked for it or not, whether you are informed as to how legitimate or correct that AI summary may be. You may have no idea. You've never seen this before or heard of it. And, oh, look, a summary.
Yeah, no, and it's often useful. It's often very useful.
And it's often wrong. And if you
can
don't
be
know,
wrong.
if you don't
And
know
so,
to check,
yeah.
you'll never know.
But what I'm saying is slightly more insidiously than the just giant corporate overlords that look over our lives. I let go of that long ago. They are. I think the AIs themselves are making decisions about how to maximize certain responses.
And why not?
Because I think they were told to do that,
Yeah.
but people didn't necessarily think about all the repercussions. And so, this is why I wanted to talk about sort of a return to talking about AI. I did want to stay more focused about what's happening in the classroom because I found that very hopeful.
I'm sorry, I'm not in the classroom, so I took you away from that.
I've really enjoying what the students are doing because they're using it in ways I didn't necessarily expect, but they're good, and I'm seeing people writing excellent papers.
That's fantastic.
That appear well thought out, and they have to write their thoughts down. And so the fear about having something else do the writing is thinking. Mm-hmm. But now what I'm seeing is your writing is thinking, but now it's sort of at a meta level. It's the next level up of the thinking, and I'm still seeing them have to organize their thoughts and put it into writing. But it's now at a different level, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Well, I love this.
Yeah,
this is very hopeful.
It is hopeful.
It is very hopeful. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Josh, and hey, thank you, students, for the good work. It's nice to bring that out to the world. All right, until next time. Folks.
Until next time.
Thank you for listening to Mind Body Evolution with Dr. Josh Stout and Eric Burkell. Go to mindbodyevolution.info